This is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, July 5th, 2023. I am the Solomonster. I hope everybody celebrating had a very happy 4th of July, but the holiday is behind us. Now we look ahead towards Blood and Guts. Coming up in a couple of weeks, that's on July 19th. Tonight, though, one of the words that comes to mind when it comes to this Dynamite show is story. There's a very story-driven episode of Dynamite tonight, which is good. Even if I don't necessarily like every story they're telling, that is a good thing. MJF and Adam Cole, they kind of highlighted the storytelling on this show. MJF and Adam Cole, they did some bonding on the show because they were partners in the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament. We did not know up until a few hours before the show who their opponents were going to be. But it was almost, who the opponents were a backdrop for all of the other shenanigans involving these two. We had a segment from the gym working out together. I didn't even realize today was Adam Cole's birthday. And when their match was over, MJF was celebrating his birthday. He got a cake for him. There were streamers. They're going all in. And it's not going to last forever. It's not going to last for too long because we all know how this story ends. We all know where this is going. But what they did tonight I thought was very entertaining. But again, when I say story, Kenny Omega made his return on Dynamite tonight for the first time since Forbidden Door. And they continue the story with him and Don Callis. We had a little, not even a pull apart, but we had a little distraction that backfired on Callis at the end of the show. That story is continuing. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, we had a video package talking about their history together and pushing that story along. Nick Wayne, 18-year-old Nick Wayne, making his AEW Dynamite debut next week. We got a video package with Darby Allin talking about their history together. Story was the key theme of this show tonight. With some good wrestling mixed in. Again, it was still hit or miss in certain segments. When the show was over, though, I was entertained. I thought it was a good episode of Dynamite tonight. I did mention the Kenny Omega return. Speaking of story that I don't really care for, but at the very end of the show, the Dark Order coming back out to pull a steel chair out of the hands of Hangman Adam Page, who was about to bash Claudio Castagnoli's brains in with it. The Dark Order comes out to yank the chair out of his hand. I can't believe we are continuing with this Dark Order stuff. I thought maybe we were winding down, but apparently not. Chris Jericho and Don Callis shared some time in the ring tonight. Why? Well, we'll talk about that. There could be something going on there between those two. It also could mean the end of the Jericho Appreciation Society is near, which would be a welcome development. We had a couple of matches in the Blind Eliminator tournament tonight, including the MJF Adam Cole match. There was another one that actually was the in-ring highlight of the night, my favorite match of the show. And we had a first-round match, I believe the final first-round match of the Women's Owen Hart Foundation tournament. Britt Baker was sick last week. She was not medically cleared. So she was in the ring tonight against Ruby Soho. And now we know what the semifinals look like. We will get into all of that here on your Dynamite review. But first, what I need you to do is hit the subscribe button if you are brand new here. Welcome to the channel. Good to have you. Pull up a chair and enjoy the show. Also, hit the like button if you would. Super chats are open. I will be reading your messages. You guys can let me know what you thought of Dynamite tonight. If you have questions about anything else, feel free to drop a super chat, and we'll go through all of those before the stream is over. And channel memberships are open as well. So if you're wondering where all the green names and the badges and the emojis, and there are custom emojis, where they're coming from, that is accessible to channel members. You can gift memberships to other people as well. So go ahead and grab yourself a spot in our little green world order. We're happy to have you. Like Adam Eisenberg. This became a Sound Of Superstar. What's going on, Adam? So the show opened with a quarterfinal match. Now, if there's one thing that Tony Khan is very fond of, actually two things that Tony Khan is very fond, actually three things that Tony Khan is very fond of. One is turning out the lights. Another one is battle royals. And the other thing is tournaments. So we have two tournaments, actually three tournaments going on right now at the same time. 2 Owen Hart tournaments, one for the men, one for the women, and we have the Blind Eliminator tournament. So blind that we're only finding out what the pairings are in random segments here and there. You'll have a backstage interview segment and somebody will say, oh, we just heard that so-and-so is teaming up in the Blind Eliminator tournament. We don't have brackets. We don't have anything. We don't even know everybody who's in the tournament yet. But Tony Khan loves his tournaments. We have 3 of them going on as we speak. This one, though, is a quarterfinal match. It was Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, former tag team champions, turned enemies, now tag team partners again for tonight, taking on the team of Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin. And this is how the show kicked off tonight. We got a moments ago cut to the back. Right from the get-go, after the opening pyro and the announcer said moments ago, Renee was in the back, and Renee was in the back with Keith Lee and Darby Allin. And she said that Darby had requested this time to speak to us and to speak to Keith Lee. He says, look, I know you don't want to team with Swerve tonight, and you've been in a funk ever since you guys broke up. He told Keith Lee to pull his head out of his ass. This was his way, I guess, of trying to psych this guy up and give him a pep talk. Although he was his opponent. I'm not sure why he would want to give a pep talk to his opponent, but that's what he was doing. So he told him to pull your head out of your ass. Or you could just sit on the apron and cry about it. And Darby said that we would see which Keith Lee shows up tonight. He walked off. Lee laughed and he looked at Renee and said, ballsy. Stupid, but ballsy. You know, something occurred to me here as I was watching the entrances for this match. And hey, shout out to Bobby's World, who just gifted a membership. But something occurred to me. You know, they merged the Mogul affiliates and the Embassy. Right, the Embassy from Ring of Honor. They merged them into one. So now they went from being individual groups to being the Mogul Embassy. But we have not seen Swerve's henchmen since the Mogul affiliates was formed. And in fact, it was this past week that we found out that Trench, and I know some of you are going to be like, what's Trench? It's not what's Trench, it's who's Trench. Trench is the one that had the tattoos all over his body. I think he had the grill in his mouth. They did the whole injury angle where they were, you know, Keith Lee was being held. Swerve came off the top and he stomped the cinder block on Keith Lee. We didn't see Keith Lee for like 6 weeks after that. So Trench and Parker Boudreaux, or whatever the hell they were calling him, have not been seen in weeks and weeks and weeks, right? Probably months at this point. We found out this week that Trench's contract lapsed. They allowed his contract to expire. So Trench is no longer in the trench. He is gone from AEW. Parker Boudreaux is still on the roster. I believe he's been out with an injury. So he may well reemerge as part of this at some point. But basically what we ended up with is Swerve Strickland becoming the leader of the Embassy. There really was no merger. There was nothing to merge. So he basically just, you know, gave up his crew and said, all right, I'm going to be the leader now of the Embassy. That's just kind of how it worked out. So early on in the match, we got to see what got Keith Lee over in the first place. From the very first match that he had. Remember the match he had on Dynamite? When Keith Lee first showed up, he had that match with Isaiah Cassidy of Private Party, and he beeled him into orbit. He beeled him into the next universe. That's what he did here to Darby Allin. He beeled this man about 3/4 of the way across the ring. Darby did a flip. He almost landed on his feet. And of course, the crowd ate it up. What we saw here in this match is what got Keith Lee over in the first place, which is him going in there with guys smaller than himself and throwing them around the ring, which is fun to watch, right? That's what got him over in the first place. Somewhere along the way, they got away from that. He changed his look. He was only showing up on Rampage. He was partnering up with Dustin Rhodes. It's like they didn't know what they were doing with this guy. This is the Keith Lee that we saw when he first showed up in AEW. And he looked like he was in there having fun. Swerve whipped Darby into the corner, which caused Darby to tumble over to the floor. That was heading into the first picture-in-picture break. There was a Tower of Doom spot with Keith Lee on the bottom, while Swerve superplexed Darby. That looked really cool. And of course, the crowd, they were in Edmonton tonight, a very loud crowd here in Canada. They loved that spot too. That was a very cool visual that we got. Lee put Cassidy in a bear hug while Swerve and Prince Nana were placing the ring steps on top of Darby. So Darby's on the floor outside the ring. And they take the top portion of the ring steps and they put them on top of Darby and his ribs, right? He's kind of selling it like the steps are so heavy he can't move them. But they're basically holding the steps on top of him. And they've trapped him underneath the steps. Orange Cassidy wanted to go free Darby, but he spotted Keith Lee. He went for an orange punch. Lee blocked it with his hand. Cassidy put Lee in a sleeper hold while he was on his back. So at this point, they were outside the ring. And with Orange Cassidy on his back, Keith Lee begins to climb up the ring steps, the same ring steps that Darby Allin was trapped underneath. So he's being crushed by the weight of both of these men. As Keith Lee gets back into the ring, he dumps Orange Cassidy into the ring. Inside, Keith Lee, he stuffed a few attempted Stun Dog Millionaires that Orange Cassidy went for. Finally, he was able to hit the move. Darby eventually returned. He put Keith Lee down with the code red. Orange Cassidy went for the cover. Swerve tried to break it up with a 450 splash. Didn't really work out. Unfortunately for Keith Lee, Cassidy moved and Swerve landed on his partner and the fans chanted, "You fucked up." Swerve didn't seem too bothered by this. In fact, he had a big smile on his face. Swerve hoisted up Orange Cassidy. He passed him off to Keith Lee. And Swerve went for a kick that was meant for Cassidy, but Cassidy moved out of the way. And I'll give you one guess what happened next. Of course, he kicked Keith Lee in the head. That was the second miscommunication of the match. Now, the announcers talked about this being intentional. Clearly, it was not intentional. Not that Swerve minded, but again, it was another accident. It blew up in their face. And the announcers at this point, so actually, let me, this is where things, and I like this match. I had a lot of fun watching this match. But there was something that happened at the end of this match that, if you watch these shows on a weekly basis, and you see how these referees are portrayed on television, this should come as no surprise. So Orange Cassidy leaped off the top rope, and he put Swerve down with a DDT, coming off the top. Then he dives quickly outside. He does a dive through the ropes onto Keith Lee, but he executes a tornado DDT in the process. So he DDTs Keith Lee on the floor outside. In the ring, Darby used the Last Supper to pin Swerve to win the match for his team. The only problem is that Keith Lee was the legal man, not Swerve. In fact, it was not even 60 seconds earlier. You can audibly hear referee Paul Turner say Keith Lee's legal. He said that. The referee himself, I don't even know who he was talking to. I don't know if he was talking to Keith to remind him that he was the legal man. Whoever it was that he was talking to, you could hear him say Keith Lee's legal. And he's not talking about carding him at a fucking bar, okay? He was the legal man in the match. That did not stop him, though, 30 seconds later from counting the pin on Swerve. And look, I get it. The referee is not going to fuck up the finish of the match and screw over the wrestlers involved by being a stickler and saying, "Oh, no, wait, you got to change the whole finish of the match here because this guy's legal and this guy's not." It puts the referee in an impossible position here because the referee is clearly acknowledging, he's trying to call it like a real match, and he's clearly acknowledging who the legal person is. And these guys either don't give a shit or they lose track of things and it doesn't matter and they just have their finish and they get to the finish. But what ends up happening is it makes the referees look completely incompetent. And we see this time and time again in wrestling, yes, but in AEW more than any other company. Their referees are made to look like a bunch of incompetent fools. And that was the case here at the end of this match, which was unfortunate because I enjoyed the match. This match was a lot of fun. This was the best match on the entire show. I had fun with it. Maybe I didn't have as much fun with it as Keith Lee looked like he was having. He had a big smile on his face. In fact, when the match was over, even though Keith Lee's team lost, they showed him standing outside the ring. He had a big smile on his face. He was looking up at Darby Allin, remember, who gave him that pep talk before they came out for their match. And he put his big bear paw out for a fist bump. Darby gave him a fist bump. Orange Cassidy came over. He gave it, well, not really a fist bump. He gave Orange Cassidy like a hand bump. And it was, I guess, almost a situation where Darby sort of woke the sleeping giant within, I guess. But Keith Lee didn't seem too bothered by the fact that he lost this match. And so now, I may be the fool for asking this question, but might we finally get the singles match that we never got between Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland? Are they waiting for Wembley? Is that what they're waiting for? Are they holding off for Wembley? I don't know. All I know is that it feels like these guys have been feuding for about a year. And we still haven't gotten that one big match between them, but maybe after this, they'll finally start building towards it. I don't know. But I enjoyed the opener. I thought it was a lot of fun. Now, after this, we got a video package. We got more Darby on this show. Got a video package with Darby Allin, and he was talking about training as a youngster to become a professional wrestler. And the man that he trained with, the person that he trained with, was Buddy Wayne. Buddy Wayne was a very well-known name on the in the indie scene, but really in the Pacific Northwest, I think, more than anything else. Yeah, I knew Buddy Wayne when he used to make appearances on some of the audio shows on the Observer side with Brian Alvarez back in the day. And the guy was he was a total character. I know WWE, sometimes they'd bring him in for extra work, and he'd bring in some students for extra work. And he passed away a number of years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago now. And Darby talked about it here in this segment. He talked about in 2017 getting a text message. He was in his car, and he got a text message about Buddy passing away. Apparently his heart just gave out, and he wasn't that old. I want to say maybe he was early to mid 50s. Maybe he wasn't an old man, but his heart gave out, and he started punching the window and punching the steering wheel and the seat. He was so angry. And he said the first thing he thought about was Buddy's son, Nick. And he made a pact at that point that he was going to look out for him and watch over him. He said Nick didn't really need it, but he wanted to make sure that he kind of looked after him, because when he used to train, Nick was around. Nick was a little kid, but Nick was around. So he knew him. He was almost like a little brother to him. So then we got some footage from a Defy Wrestling event. This was a couple of years ago. Nick Wayne was in the ring, and Darby Allin showed up as a surprise, and he surprised him with an AEW contract. This was a story at the time that it happened. And he would not officially join AEW until he turned 18 years old. But even back then, he was looked at as such a young prodigy that he was presented with a contract and would have to wait a couple of years to officially become part of the roster. It's kind of like -1. Brody Lee Jr., right? Once he turns 18, he'll be on that roster too, although he's quite a bit younger than Nick Wayne was. But Nick Wayne just turned 18 years old, which means that Nick Wayne is now officially a member of the AEW roster. And Darby says that, he asked the question, is he ready? He thinks so, but he says it's up to him now to show the world. And like I said, Nick Wayne has been called a prodigy. I've seen Jackie Fowler activating Brie mode. Talking about prodigies. The prodigy that is Brie Bella just made an appearance here on my screen. Like I said, I've seen some of his work. He's definitely talented. He's got talent. But he's very young. Very young. And the things that he can do at his age, again, he's only 18 years old, is very impressive. But he is still a very young man. And I don't expect him to be a big thing soon. I mean, in fact, I could easily see him spending most of his time on Rampage and building his name, because really, there's only so many spots on the main shows to go around, and this company has a surplus of talent. And all due respect to Nick Wayne, he is not the best of the best in AEW. He'll have to work his way up the ladder like anybody else. Now, what could work to his advantage, though, is if Darby were to take him under his wing. I mean, it certainly seems like maybe that's a direction they're going in, doing this segment here with Darby, which I thought was good. It gave some good background on him instead of just throwing him on television. Now we have the personal element. We know his personal story. So that was good. maybe Darby will take him under his wing. If he gets some rub from Darby Allin, that's not a bad spot for him to be in. But I like how they're having Darby endorse him. You know, Darby is well liked. Darby is one of the biggest baby faces they have on the roster. And here he is endorsing this kid before he's even made his television debut, and giving him the Darby Allin stamp of approval, so to speak. Now, next week, he's going to make his debut. Here, I thought they were going to maybe do a few weeks of vignettes. We got one vignette, and already he's making his debut next Wednesday. He's wrestling Swerve Strickland. Swerve has taken a lot of losses recently. He took another one tonight on this show. And now I'm looking at this and I'm going, is he going to lose again? He shouldn't. He shouldn't be going in there and losing to Nick Wayne. Then you're beating this kid in his debut. Not the end of the world. But of all the people to put him in the ring with, I mean, look, Swerve will give him a great match. Swerve and Nick Wayne sounds like a fantastic match. But of the people in this match, normally I wouldn't say it's a good thing for the person in their debut to lose. Swerve, he should not be losing this match. He's taken more losses than he should recently. So it's kind of a tough spot there. But anyway, that's coming up on the show next week. Now, Tony Schiavone was in the parking lot, and he was awaiting the arrival, I should say, of Jungle Boy Jack Perry, who was pulling up in his SUV. He gets out of the SUV, says that what happened last week to him when they showed the replay of Hook chasing him through the arena, through the backstage area. He did that sweet, smooth dive into the back seat of the getaway car and sped off. So he said that what happened last week was ridiculous. And he said he's not some thug from New York. He wanted to do business in the ring. He said he was going to go to Tony Khan's office right now to demand an FTW title match. And as soon as he said that, Hook shows up. Hook starts beating him up. And Jack gets back in the SUV, tells the driver to pull away. And that was it. That was the last we saw from Jungle Boy all night. This was a very lame follow-up to the segment from last week. And I understand they're not going to give the match away just yet. And so there's only so many things you can do until you get to the point where you are ready to actually have that match. But I enjoyed the promo that he cut last week, his first heel promo. I thought he did a good job. I thought the getaway was very amusing. This felt to me like, all right, we got to get this guy on the show. So let's just get him on the show in the quickest, lamest possible way, because we just have to get to the next show. And we'll figure out what we're going to do with him next week. So I was looking forward to the follow-up. We didn't get much follow-up, so that sucked. Now we had footage. This did not suck. This was actually one of the better segments of the show. This is a pre-recorded segment from earlier in the day. MJF was standing outside of a gym somewhere, and he said that he had been waiting for Adam Cole to arrive. He didn't know where he was. All of a sudden, Adam Cole opens the door to the gym, and he says to Max, look, I've been doing cardio for an hour. Where have you been? Come on, let's go. So he goes back into the gym. MJF looks at him. He's wondering, where's the shirt that I gave you? Where's the Better Than You Bebe shirt? Cole just looked at him and went back into the gym. So MJF started a bench press set. Asked Cole if he would spot him. He said, sure, no problem. MJF starts doing the bench press. Adam Cole pulls out his phone. He's texting someone. Maybe he's sexting Britt Baker. I don't know. I could just picture it. This guy's doing a bench press set, right? However much weight he was doing. Adam Cole's supposed to be spotting him. He's texting his girlfriend. Meanwhile, his girlfriend probably has somebody in the dentist chair. Right, their mouth is all open, fucking blood pouring out all over the place. She's texting her boyfriend. Ridiculous. So MJF finishes his set, and then he looks over and he spots a morbidly obese man who is trying to lose some weight. He's doing some exercise, right? God bless this guy. I don't know what he was doing, but he was doing some form of physical activity, which is good here at this gym. And he tells Adam Cole a fat joke at this man's expense. Said that when the man takes his clothes to the laundromat, they tell him, sorry, we don't do curtains. And he thought that was pretty funny. He went to go tell another joke. Adam Cole said, look, you can't say things like that anymore. He goes, and it's not funny. He goes, you can't do that. But Cole couldn't help but ask MJF if that guy reminds him of somebody. And then simultaneously, at the same time, they both had the same answer. They both said, Tony Schiavone. And MJF starts laughing, and Cole, all of a sudden, he gets, and it was brief, but he gets this look on his face, like this realization in this moment that, wait a minute, are we actually bonding here? That's how I interpreted the look. He had this, like, concerned look that washed over his face all of a sudden, like he realized, wait a minute, are we becoming bros? Are we becoming friends here? So then it was Adam Cole's turn to bench press. Insert your joke here. I'm sure there were a lot of people very amused by this who have made comments about Adam Cole's physique and his lack of one and his lack of muscle tone on his body. MJF has made fun of it. He's brought that up in fucking promos on TV, so it's fair game now to talk about it. So he said, you want to do this? You want to take some weight off? He goes, no, leave it. It's fine. So he asks him, do you want me to spot you? And Cole goes, yeah, whatever. So he lays down on the bench and he begins to do the bench press and he's lifting the weight, no problem. I don't know if he did the same number of reps that MJF did. He may have done more. Puts the weight back on the rack and the segment ends. MJF is baffled by this. Baffled by the amount of weight that Adam Cole was able to bench press, and that's how the segment ended. I thought this was great. This was a very entertaining segment. I like it when they do stuff like this. MJF is obviously very good at this. But honestly, the chemistry these two have had with some of the stuff they've done recently, and I don't know how many of you have seen the Twitch clips. Adam Cole has his Twitch channel. He's always gaming, hanging out with his fans on there. MJF called in and was interrupting his stream, asking wrestling questions. Hey, how about we do this in our match and that? And Cole, had to stop him and say, Max, look, we don't talk wrestling on this channel. I thought I told you that. Oh, yeah, but I got this great move that we can do. So, like, they were thinking of stuff to do off camera, like during the week, and I thought that was fun. But this was also very entertaining here. So then we had the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn against the Blade and the Bollywood Boyz. I thought I was watching Rampage. Actually, I thought I was watching Dark, and then I realized Dark is no more. I thought I was watching Rampage here. The Blade did not have the Butcher with him as his partner because the Butcher was selected in the Blind Eliminator tournament to tag with Matt Menard later in the show. So that's why the Blade was teamed up here with the Bollywood Boyz. And the Bollywood Boyz are very good. But I don't really have much to say about them or this match because we barely got to see any of it. Because more than half the match happened in picture-in-picture. So not a whole lot to say. Anthony Bowens made the hot tag, hit a famouser. Before Billy Gunn jumped in, hit the one and only on one of the Bollywood Boyz. And then Max Caster. Let's say Catster. Max Caster capped things off with a mic drop off the top rope for the win. After the match, Harley Cameron, who is the woman who is part of the QT Marshall crew, she's part of these QTV segments they're still doing. She pops up on the big screen. She's upset at the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. There's been some ongoing storyline on Friday nights that I just haven't paid much attention to. But she was upset that they ruined her singing a few weeks ago on Rampage. I'm so sorry I missed that. She said that next week she's going to have a video to show them and I guess to show the world. Billy Gunn took the microphone. He said that he had 2 words for her. Of course, those 2 words were, suck it. There you go. I was waiting for Adam Cole to come back out and tell Billy Gunn, you can't do that no more. Can't do that. It's not acceptable anymore. Bobby's World has gifted a channel membership to Lance Dominguez. So congratulations to Lance. We got highlights of Eddie Kingston winning his very first championship in New Japan. This took place earlier. He won the New Japan Strong Openweight title against Kenta, which was a dream of his. Well, first of all, I mean, it was his dream to actually go and wrestle in Japan, which he got to do for the very first time this week. Of course, he's going to be part of the G1 that kicks off at the end of next week. That's another thing he can cross off his bucket list. And now he wins his first championship over there. So Eddie Kingston is he's living his best life right now over in Japan. So we got highlights of the end of the match and him winning the title, and Homicide was there. So Homicide came and was hugging him after the match outside the ring and celebrating with him. We then cut to a video of Jon Moxley talking about the history that he has with Eddie Kingston. He said, through good times and bad, both of us made it out. And he questioned why Eddie walks around so angry. Said they should make every day count instead of complaining about the new generation having no respect. Moxley said that Kingston should let the past be the past, and he told Kingston, hey, answer your phone. So I'm thinking, Eddie won this championship, and I'm thinking we have All Out, right? Coming up from Wembley. We know there's going to be talent. Tony Khan has basically hinted, I don't know if he's outright said it, but there will be talent from other promotions, international talent on the show, probably some New Japan talent, I'm sure. Might we see Eddie Kingston defending that strong openweight title against Jon Moxley? And if not Jon Moxley, it might be against Claudio, right? He has this visceral hatred for Claudio. It could very well be against him, but I could see him defending that championship at Wembley to give him a big match on that show. I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised that Eddie Kingston won a title in New Japan before he won a title in AEW. Because Eddie Kingston can disappear for months on end. He can appear on Rampage for months and never on Dynamite, and then show back up, and just like that, the fans are into him. The fans are all over him. Fans love Eddie Kingston. He's over. He's likable. And they would definitely get behind an Eddie Kingston, TNT title run, or if they wanted to tell the story of Eddie Kingston going after MJF for the AEW World Championship, right? He might not win it, but boy, I'm sure the fans would be invested in that story, and the promos between them would be fucking fantastic. So as you look ahead and you start to wonder about other potential challengers for MJF after the Adam Cole story runs its course, you still have the whole CM Punk thing, and are they going to wrestle again at some point to, determine who the real champion is? There's the eventual match. They come back to MJF and Darby. I want to put Wardlow on the list. It's kind of sad because I don't see it. It's going to take some major rehab to get him back up to that level where I could say, okay, I want to see MJF and Wardlow. But that's another potential name, MJF and Ricky Starks. Put Eddie Kingston on that list, even if it's just a one-off match, because just the build-up to that match. And I think the emotional investment that a lot of the AEW fans have in Eddie Kingston would make for a very fun chase. It would make for a very fun chase for him to go after MJF and try to win the AEW World title. But, again, he won a title in New Japan before he won one in AEW. So, who knew? Renee was backstage. She was backstage with RJ City. They had the Tumbler back there. They had Matt Hardy with them. He was waiting to find out his partner in the Blind Eliminator tournament on Rampage. And RJ. Got my acronyms mixed up here. RJ City said that it's Jeff. And then Matt said, whoa, you mean Jeff as in my brother Jeff? And he goes, no, I mean Jeff as in Jeff Jarrett. Matt Hardy was not very happy about that, and he walked off. Chris Jericho was out to the ring next all by himself. He was out to Judas, much to the delight of the crowd here in Edmonton. Of course, he's a Canadian boy. Jericho has history in Edmonton, although he was raised in Winnipeg. I know that. He was born in New York, fucking Long Island. But he grew up in Winnipeg. But they loved him here in Edmonton. He gets on the microphone and he says that he notices the audience is loud here tonight. He's playing it up like a baby face. He says it's a little bittersweet for him to be here because over the last few months he's had a lot of big losses to his name. because things have not been going the way that he wanted them to go. So maybe it's time to, and I thought he was going to say retire. There are some places where if he was to make that announcement, he would get loud cheers. But he didn't say he was going to retire. He said it might be time to reevaluate and just make some changes. He said Alberta is the perfect place to do so because it is where he started his pro wrestling career. And it seems like only yesterday that he began his training in Calgary with Stu Hart. And the crowd began chanting Stu, and Jericho thought they were booing him. So he actually stopped and said, "Are you actually booing Stu Hart?" And the reality is he wasn't booing Stu Hart, or they weren't booing Stu Hart. But he was obviously mishearing them. So, and I think even Tony Schiavone on commentary made the comment and said, no, they're chanting Stu. So he said that he had his first match an hour from here. Said, I got here a few days early, and he was driving back through all of the old communities, including what sounded like, I'm just going to say it, it sounded like Ballsack. Okay, now I'm sure that's not what it's called. But it sounded like he was driving through Ballsack, which is quite the journey. And then he remembered as he was going through all of these places and down all these roads that he remembers from early in his career, it reinvigorated his fire and his passion for the wrestling business. It made him remember all that wrestling meant to him. It reinvigorated him. And he said, it's time to become a new Chris Jericho, maybe the best version of Chris Jericho ever. So then he's interrupted by Don Callis. Don Callis comes down to the ring. Crowd obviously is all over him. We get a "fuck you, Callis" chant from the crowd. Callis says that he thinks what he's hearing is that Jericho needs a change. Very good, Don. Very good. I wonder what led you to that conclusion. Perhaps it was the fact that Jericho just said he is in need of a change. So he heard what Jericho had. Okay, it's called Ballsack with a Z. Okay, so when you say it out loud, it really does sound like Ballsack. That's amazing. Shout out to Ballsack. I didn't know there was such a place up in Canada. that's You learn something new. You learn something new every day. I would love to know the population in Ballsack. Somebody look that up on Wikipedia. What is the population of Ballsack? I would like to know. Callis says it was 6 years ago today that he called Jericho from Tokyo, and he proposed his match with Kenny Omega at the Tokyo Dome. He says Jericho surprised him and said, "Oh yeah," and that they changed the course of wrestling history because without that match, none of these people would be here. And Tony Khan has talked about this before, that the Jericho-Omega match at Wrestle Kingdom that year, I think it was 2018, is really, it kind of planted the germ in his head of what eventually would become AEW. So it was a very important match in the course of wrestling history. If you really look back on it, it will end up being a very important match historically in the business. So Jericho said, look, it's hard to hear Don with all the boos, but he can say the same thing about Don. He goes, in 2015, he was out of wrestling, Don was, and he was in the middle of his other career, but Jericho knew that he was miserable and he wanted to get back into the business. Jericho got Callis into AEW, and he's more successful than others. So, in fact, Don might not be here without him. So Callis mentioned being betrayed by that cowardly punk, Kenny Omega. So he's had to make a new family, which will be built on trust. When he thinks about trust, he thinks about the greatest of all time and his best friend of 34 years, Chris Jericho. So if Jericho is ready to change history once again, he's here to formally ask him to join the Don Callis family. And the fans booed. Jericho asked Callis, are you seriously asking me to join the Don Callis faction? And Jericho says that I don't join factions, I create them. So if Don is seriously asking him to join, he's got a one-word answer for him, and that answer is maybe. And Jericho left at that point. let me just say that I am all for a change with Jericho. I don't know if that's a babyface turn. Uh, I like the idea of him and Callas doing something together, whether it's Callas, not that Jericho needs a manager, but, did CM Punk need a manager when Paul Heyman was with him? Right? Does Roman Reigns need a manager? No, but the two of them together have just become inseparable, right? It's better with the two of them together, right? You could say that about Paul Heyman and almost anybody. I'm not saying that Don Callis is Paul Heyman. What I'm saying is the idea of Jericho and Callas as a combo intrigues me, and I think that could work. Or Jericho aligning with him and Takeshita and his guys. As long as it's not a Jericho faction, it doesn't just turn into another Jericho faction. I'm intrigued by that idea. And also, I'm just in favor of anything that's going to wind down the whole Jericho Appreciation Society stuff. Because it's like what happened with the Inner Circle at the end. There was no real end for the Inner Circle. It just sort of went on for too long, and it just petered out there at the end. And that's what we're seeing now with the Jericho Appreciation Society. It feels the same way, like it's just overstayed its welcome. Which is why I can appreciate what WWE has been doing for so long with the Bloodline, because they keep finding ways to make that story interesting, and it's the best story in the entire company that they're telling right now. But I hope in the future it's the same thing, where they don't run the Bloodline stuff into the ground, where it's just, you kind of wring that sponge out until it's bone dry and there's nothing left. The NWO and WCW, when you have a story or you have a faction so many times before, they don't know how to end it. And with the Jericho Appreciation Society stuff, there's so many people and so many names in the group. And then Sammy was a babyface heading into Double or Nothing, and I wasn't sure if he was still even part of the group. Apparently he is. It's ridiculous. So anything that will help wind that down, I'm all in favor of. Now, earlier in the show, and I did not mention this earlier on purpose because I wanted to save it for this point. But earlier in the show, they showed a graphic for the upcoming Blood and Guts match that I mentioned is coming up on July 19th. It's going to be the Elite against the Blackpool Combat Club. And I said last week, with Bryan Danielson being injured and Eddie Kingston being overseas in the G1 and not available, they may as well just make it 4-on-4. You have the Blackpool Combat Club with Takeshita against the Elite. Kenny Omega will make his return, and you'll do 4-on-4. And you could always save Kota Ibushi for some other time if people want Ibushi so badly. I mean, he'll be in. It's just a matter of when. Well, we got our answer this week about whether or not they're going to be doing 4-on-4. They are not going to be doing 4-on-4. Excalibur made it very clear that it's going to be 5-on-5, as it usually is, in the Blood and Guts match in a couple of weeks. And each team is going to have a fifth slot to fill between now and then. So at the end of this Jericho segment, a thought occurred to me, and it may have occurred to some of you as well. I don't know what ultimately Jericho's answer is going to be. What his final answer is going to be to Don Callis' offer. But we know the two of them are friends. We know Jericho might want to do a favor for Don, even if he doesn't officially join his family. We could very well be looking at Chris Jericho linking up with the Blackpool Combat Club for one night only at Blood and Guts. And then on the opposing side, the Elite needs that fifth man. And if it's not going to be Ibushi, it ends up being Sting. And we get Sting on one side and we get Jericho on the other. And that scares the shit out of me because of what we saw last week and what I just got done talking about Sting and the risks he's been taking and the dive off the ladder last week. And now just the mere thought, the possibility of Sting being involved in a blood and guts match with thumbtacks and barbed wire and probably more ladders and God knows what else scares the ever-loving shit out of me. So I don't know that I'm on board with that. And maybe I'm way off and they're not doing this, but it just struck me that it would be a way to fill the spots on both sides very easily because the issue with Jericho and Sting is not over. So Jericho could end up on the heel side. Sting could end up on the babyface side. I think it's very possible. Hey, look, Bliss fan, I don't know if you're joking or not, but yeah, I can definitely see Sting on top of the cage. Because they've gone on top of the cage. We've seen people come off the top of the cage before. Jericho himself got shoved off the top of the cage by MJF. Is that the next step? Is that the next kind of level to this? Is Sting on top of the blood and guts cage doing some fucking crazy gimmick to dive onto some sort of platform down below? Is he just hell bent on fucking ending it? Is that what's going to happen? I sure hope not. Sting and Jericho, though, I could definitely see that being the case. We got a video package to promote the CM Punk Samoa Joe semifinal match in the Owen Hart tournament coming up on Collision this coming Saturday. Punk said that he's going to beat Joe for the first time. They spliced in some footage from their previous Ring of Honor matches. Punk said that whatever is left of him will continue on and he'll win the Owen. Tell me when I'm telling lies. Collision is a pretty loaded lineup. They got a bunch of tournament matches on Saturday. They have Willow against Athena. They have Punk against Joe. They have Starks and Hobbs is also taking place on Saturday. I think they've announced another match. I don't remember offhand exactly what the match is. The ratings don't reflect it, but I've enjoyed Collision so far. And I am looking forward to this week's episode, even again, if the ratings certainly tell a very different story so far. We'll talk more about the Collision ratings on Sunday, because they are not good. And we haven't even started college football season yet. You think these numbers are bad. You wait until then. You wait until then and see what happens. So Renee was backstage, and she was with Roderick Strong, who was in a neck brace, and he was with Doc Samson. Strong said that he felt amazing after the good doctor spoke of being cautious and taking things easy. Adam Cole showed up. He asked Roddy how he was feeling, and Strong asked Cole, "What's the deal with you and MJF?" Cole said that he made it very clear to Max that he has his boundaries. He then got a text message from MJF asking if he was ready to do a double clothesline. MJF really wanted to do a double clothesline spot in their match. And this led to the tag team eliminator match, MJF and Adam Cole, tag team partners for the very first time, taking on Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and The Butcher. The team that I'll bet you never knew that you needed. But we got it on the show tonight. That's the first team in this entire fucking tournament that actually feels like a blind tag team. Matt Menard and The Butcher. MJF did the Adam Cole poses during their entrance as the Butcher and Menard attacked them from behind. Menard fired off some forearms. MJF started no-selling. He was slapping Menard in the face. Got an abdominal stretch applied. And as he's got the abdominal stretch applied, he's looking over at Adam Cole and he's begging for it, right? He's begging for the assist. And Adam Cole's a babyface now, right? He's not a heel anymore. So he doesn't want to cheat, but finally he relents and he reaches and he grabs Max's arm, and the fans are cheering this. They're cheering their cheating here in this match. Fucking Canadians. MJF ended up being isolated throughout a commercial break, and Menard and Butcher got their own assisted abdominal stretch during the break. MJF was able to escape. Finally, he makes the hot tag to Adam Cole. He ran wild with a pump kick and a neck breaker over the knee on Menard. MJF is on the apron. He's yelling. He's begging. He's begging for this. He wants to do the double clothesline spot. Double clothesline. Double clothesline. He's yelling at him, right? So instead of granting MJF his wish, Cole lowered the boom on Matt Menard. Knee strike right to the back of the head. And he pinned him to win the match for his team. And MJF seemed okay with that. He goes, all right. Hey. Whatever. So they didn't get to do their double. Canadians, I'm telling you, man, these Canadians. I don't know what it is. They're cheering the cheating ways of this man. What does that say about them? MJF calls for their music to be cut. Gets on the mic. He calls out Alberta, saying that he has a question. Are there any devil worshippers in the house tonight? They all chanted for MJF. He said he has another question. Any fans of a certain individual with a super cool over name? And he tells Adam Cole to go do the thing, and he does it to the crowd's delight. They all chant Adam Cole when he puts his fingers up in the air. MJF says that they're better than you, and they would have done better if they would have hit their double clothesline. Cole says, look, boundaries, all right? So MJF says he wants another bro session and asks if the fans want to see them one more time, and they all chant yes, and Cole says, all right, why not? And Cole is getting ready to leave, and MJF says, I got one more thing. I want to tell you. And he puts his big Burberry belt down, and he says, happy birthday. And we see confetti and streamers shoot from the sky. Crowd is chanting happy birthday. 34 years old, by the way. Adam Cole turns 34 years old today. There you go. Maybe that was the weights maybe that he was lifting and he was benching in the gym earlier. He was benching 34 pounds at the gym. So he's calling for people to come down, and a bunch of like stagehands are coming down. They got birthday stuff, birthday cake. They have little party hats and balloons. So everybody gets party hats on. MJF puts one on Adam Cole. Cole says it's a lot, but MJF says, look, we're here to celebrate you. And he starts singing. And MJF, actually, he's got a good singing voice. It goes back to when he was a little kid. Remember when he was on Rosie O'Donnell's show? And he did the dinner debonair stuff with Chris Jericho. So he's got some some singing ability. He starts singing happy birthday to this guy. And Adam Cole, after a while, cuts him off and says, all right, I get it. I get that you're a good singer, and he appreciates it all, but you've done more than enough. And MJF says, there's one more thing to do, make a wish. And the crowd chants, make a wish. I thought John Cena was coming out. The crowd starts chanting, make a wish, make a wish. MJF tells us, now, Cole is a few feet away from him. He's got his back turned. And he's waiting for Adam Cole to make a wish, right? He's looking at the birthday cake, and MJF looks into the camera.
Why is Solomonster a Punk hater? Why does he hate Punk so much? What did he ever do to him?
Bobbert Reviews, Matt, thank you for the $40 CM Punk Super Chat.
Why does Solomonster hate CM Punk?
Happy late 4th of July. Well, happy late 4th of July to you as well. Bobbert, thank you for that. I appreciate that very, very much. Happy birthday, Bobbert. It may not even be your birthday, but I'm going to wish you a happy birthday anyway. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, America. 247 years old. We still can't get it right. So he's looking into the camera, MJF is, and he's like, I'm going to put his face in the cake, right? He's telling us he's going to embarrass this man on TV. And he goes to put Adam Cole's face in the cake. Adam Cole kind of sidesteps him. He puts MJF's face in the cake, and he goes down. And he's got cake goo all over his face, frosting all over his face. He must have driven through Balzac. And Cole says, good cake. And the crowd chants for him to eat the cake. MJF does. Cole tells Max to listen to him. It was nice of him to do all of this, so he wants to say thank you, my friend. A sincere thank you from Adam Cole for all that MJF did for him here for his birthday. And he walked off as MJF ate the frosting off the cake. Now, we all know where this story is headed. We all know how this story ends. But I am enjoying the ride for as long as this ride lasts. And I don't know how many more weeks this is going to go on for. I would like to see them stretch this out for a while, because what they did tonight I thought was very entertaining. And I think there's still a lot of mileage left in this story. They could do more segments like the one they did from the gym. You know, they could have other bonding I almost said bondage. They could have other bonding sessions together doing various activities and, you know, whatever. And then obviously they're still in the tournament, so they're going to be wrestling a couple more times at least here in this tournament. I think they go all the way. In the tournament, I think the match is going to be FTR against MJF and Adam Cole. And like I said, we all know how the story ends. They're not going to win the tag team titles. But what I am hoping is this. We all know that MJF is not being sincere, right? He's full of shit. The only question is, how long is he going to keep the act up for, right? I certainly hope that in the end, at the end of all this, Adam Cole doesn't come across as the typical dumb babyface, right? He knows what Max is trying to do. And in the end, he should be the one to get the last laugh, not MJF. So I don't know how they're going to end it. I don't know how they're going to get to that point. If there's going to be a turn in the tag team title match, should they go to the end of this tournament and win the tournament? Or I guess they would win the tournament and then get a shot at the title. So if that is the direction they're going in, it's just a matter of who gets the drop on who first. And for MJF to get the drop on Adam Cole, I think would make Adam Cole look bad. So that's the only thing. But I hope we get at least a few more weeks out of this, because what they did tonight was very, very entertaining. They work very well together. They have good chemistry, good comedic chemistry, these two. And we still have a ways to go before we get to Wembley. All right, what is it? It's only July 5th. Wembley is still just shy of 2 months, like 7 weeks away, right? Plenty of other material they could be doing. So Renee was backstage with Chris Jericho, Daniel Garcia, and Sammy Guevara. She asked about his maybe to Don Callis earlier in the show. And Garcia said that, look, Chris, we need you. What are you doing? You're telling him maybe? Does that mean that it's the end of the JAS? And Jericho says, look, you guys both need room to grow. I'm not always going to be around to help you. I can't always be here to help you and help you win. And Renee then informs Garcia and Sammy that they have been selected as partners in the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament. What a coincidence. How about that? Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara partners. They're not even trying to make this random. They're not even trying. Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, MJF and Adam Cole, Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara, Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin, who have been partners before. And they call it a blind eliminator. The only thing blind about it is the fact that they have done a very poor job with the way that they have made these announcements. That's my biggest gripe about this. I really dislike the way they've been making these announcements. They're just completely anticlimactic. They just come, it's just, Renee or Tony Schiavone. Oh, by the way, you're teaming with this guy, or it's just lame. They show they have the tumblers in the back, but I don't know, just the way they kind of throw it out there is pretty anticlimactic. Jericho, though, he hears this, he goes, oh, this is perfect. Now you two guys can go all the way to the end and you can win the tag team titles together. I still maintain that I hope that the end of the JAS is near. They really need to wind that shit down. We had Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, against Ruby Soho in the Owen Hart Foundation tournament in a rematch from the finals of last year's tournament. That was the finals in 2022. Britt won the title and the trophy. You get a title and a trophy. So she was the winner last year. This was supposed to take place last week. If you remember, Britt got sick. She was not medically cleared. This is the last of the first round matches left, so they pushed it back to this week. Tons of interference from the Outcasts. This has been a calling card of the Outcasts matches basically now since they formed the group. So that's not really a surprise, but the problem is this was beyond absurd. The amount of interference in this match with the referee not seeing most of it. Here's yet another example. It's one thing to have interference or a spot where the referee misses something, you take the ref and something's happening on the opposite side of the ring and they don't see it. There was so much constant interference here. And again, it just makes the referees look completely incapable of doing their jobs and completely incompetent, that they're not seeing what's going on. They're not taking action. They're not ejecting the Outcast. It just makes the referee crew look incredibly stupid. This was yet another example of this on this show. Britt went for her lockjaw finish. Saraya climbed up onto the apron, started messing around with the turnbuckle, which distracted the referee. Ruby then slammed Britt's head into Britt's Owen Hart title belt that Toni Storm was holding up in the corner because Britt brought the belt out to the ring with her. We've not seen her carry this championship in a year since she won it, but she had it with her tonight. She got her head rammed into it. After the belt shot, Britt turned around into a no future kick by Ruby, and I thought, okay, that's it. Right, match is over here. Britt kicked out. Soho tried lockjaw. Baker, though, kicked off the ropes and tried lockjaw herself. As the outcast, they pulled Ruby out of the ring to safety. Baker went outside. She finally took out Storm and Saraya with super kicks, but as they went to go repeat the victory roll spot that ended their match last year in the Owen, Soho had the victory roll countered and held on to Toni Storm. They had their arms locked. The referee, of course, didn't see it, and Ruby Soho steals the pin from Britt Baker to advance in the Owen Hart tournament. And so Ruby will now face Sky Blue in the semifinals next week. The interference really hampered the match. The work was good from these two. I did think that the near falls were a bit much at the end. Yeah, you do near falls like that in like a big main event match. You know, this is an opening round match in this tournament. So I thought that was unnecessary, but just the constant interference. I mean, how do you even grade a match like this? The work was good. They were putting the effort in, but again, the interference really hampered the match overall. But I said from the start of all this, I said that it's going to be Ruby and Willow in the finals. And again, they've really been putting over the Athena win streak that she's been on. She's like 48-0 or something. They might not want to beat her, but I look at this and I still see Ruby and Willow in the finals, with Willow going over at the end of all this. And then the main event was Kenny Omega making his return for the first time, his first appearance since Forbidden Door. And he was going one-on-one here in this match with Wheeler Yuta of the Blackpool Combat Club. Kenny had tape all over the back of his neck and his shoulder, and that really was the story of the match, with Yuta targeting, the injured parts of his body. I would say he controlled most of the match. Kenny was selling the injuries. Omega connected with the Kataro Crusher, but as he went for the You Can't Escape, he fell down for a second. Again, he was selling the neck and selling the shoulder. And then when he recovered and went for the moonsault, Yuta got the knees up. Later on, Yuta dodged a V-trigger and countered into an angle slam for a near fall. He went up top. He took too long, though. Omega quickly followed to hit a massive leg-trapped superplex off the top. Yuta came back, planted Omega with a nice bridging German for 2. This led to rolling German attempts by Yuta. Omega, though, fought free, hit a V-trigger and 2 Snapdragons. So Omega was trying for the one-winged angel, and he struggled at first, but he got Yuta up. Yuta, though, escaped. He went for his seatbelt pin. Omega escaped that. And he hit a power bomb, then the V-trigger for a near fall. So now he's getting ready to put an end to this. Kenny Omega is getting ready to put an end to this match, when who should walk out but Don Callis? And there are referees and people who are trying to hold him back, and Don Callis comes out. And this, of course, distracts Kenny Omega, but the referee is also not paying attention. Konosuke Takeshita now is in the ring behind Omega, and then he gives Kenny a Blue Thunder Bomb. Gives him a Blue Thunder Bomb. Yuta goes up to the top rope, hits a big splash, and Omega kicks out. Crowd comes alive. We're in Kenny country here, man. We're in Canada. So what did you expect? Of course, the crowd is going to explode for Kenny Omega. So Yuta goes up top. Omega, though, catches him, hits a walking one-winged angel for the 3 count. So he took a few steps before he finally dropped Yuta. And Yuta's very lucky he tucked his head when he did, because at first it almost looked like he got spiked right on his head. Thankfully, he tucked his head just enough where it was okay. But he fell to the one-winged angel. Don Callis' plan backfires here in this match. And otherwise, I thought it was a good main event. Post-match, Claudio hit the ring with Takeshita to put the boots to Omega until the Young Bucks and Hangman Page hit the ring with chairs to even the odds. Claudio ate a BTE trigger, and as Hangman was preparing for a chair shot, he was going to cave this man's head in with a chair. Dark Order ran in. And the Dark Order gets in the ring. They take the chair away at the last second from Hangman as he's rearing back to use it. And at that exact moment, the show goes off the air. Because I think they went about a minute or two overtime. Yeah, this is like one of those finishes you would see 20 years ago, where there's just a lot of chaos going on, and maybe something's about to happen, but the copyright box comes on, and then the show cuts off, and it leaves you wondering, like, what, or back then you would be left dying, like, oh my God, what happened? You know, I need to know what happened. Today, you know, these days, when the shows are over, see, this is the evolution of being a wrestling fan, I would say 25 years ago compared to being a wrestling fan today. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, Monday Night War, you'd have an ending like that. They'd go off the air. I'd be pissed, right? What the fuck happened? I gotta know what happened when the show went off the air, right? I can't wait to go find next week. I can't wait to find out online or next week what happened, right? Now, these shows come to an end, especially on Mondays, and I'm grateful for it. It's like, couldn't this happen an hour ago, maybe, right? I don't feel that way so much about Dynamite. Two hours is fine, but it is interesting how, at least on Mondays, how things have changed over the years. Where now I can't fucking wait for that show to be off the air at 11 o'clock. But back in the day, man, they weren't long enough. I wanted another hour. I wanted it to keep going. And then the next day, you know, everyone's me and my friends were all having conversations about what happened on Raw or Nitro the night before. So anyway, it was that style of ending that they were going for, where they wanted to leave you wondering what happened with Hangman and the Dark Order. I can tell you right now what happened. I can tell you exactly what happened because I already saw the clip that AEW posted on their social media. Nothing. That's what happened. So if you were wondering what happened when they went off the air, nothing happened. Evil Uno was saying something to Hangman. They took the chair and they left. So not much more to say about that. But yes, they were desperately out of time. Look, I don't care for the Dark Order stuff. I think I've made that very clear. I know they're telling a story. Again, story, right? That was the word I opened the stream with. A very story-driven episode of Dynamite in many ways. This is a story I just can't bring myself to care about. Hangman and the Dark Order, I don't give a shit. I really don't. And also, look, if I'm wrong and it's not Chris Jericho and Sting taking those spots in Blood and Guts, and bear in mind, Jericho has been a part of every Blood and Guts match so far, which just adds to my thinking that he'll be a part of this one. But if not, you know, I could see them having someone like fucking Evil Uno offer to be part of the BCC team. Because they're still telling that story. You'll have Hangman on one side. You'll have one member of the Dark Order on the heel side. I don't want to see that. To me, that's just fucking lame. So I'm hoping that that's not it. You know what? In that case, I'd rather have Jericho in the match than one of the Dark Order members if that's the direction they're going in. I certainly hope not. I'll tell you a match I am very much looking forward to, though. Kenny Omega and Konosuke Takeshita. I cannot wait to see those two in the ring together because I know, and I'm talking one-on-one. I'm not even talking Blood and Guts. I'm talking one-on-one. Because I just know what those two can probably do in the ring together is going to be special. And they should really build that first singles matchup like a big deal because I think it's going to be. When the show was over, I was entertained on the whole. There were some fun parts of the show. The opener I thought was a lot of fun. The MJF Adam Cole stuff was fun. Main event was good. Very disappointed they didn't do more with the Jungle Boy stuff. The Acclaimed, the stuff with the Acclaimed and Harley Quinn. What's her name? Harley Cameron, whatever. Again, I don't care. I really don't. The Dark Order stuff, again, not something I'm terribly interested in. The Jericho Don Callis stuff is interesting, though. Like I said, I would not mind if they wanted to pair those two up for a while. But we don't know what Jericho's answer is going to be. He said maybe. He didn't commit to anything. Rampage on Friday. Here is the lineup for the Friday show. Matt Hardy and Jeff Jarrett against Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara in a blind eliminator match. Big Bill and Brian Cage against Trent Beretta and Matt Sydal in a blind eliminator match. Hikaru Shida against Marina Shafir. Hangman Page and the Young Bucks against Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. Well, there you go. There you go. We have Collision on Saturday. CM Punk against Samoa Joe in the tournament. Ricky Starks against Powerhouse Hobbs in the tournament. FTR, well, actually, Athena and Willow Nightingale is the other Owen match. The other match I was trying to remember before was FTR against Jay White and Juice Robinson. That's going to be a eliminator match. It is not a tag team title match. But that sounds like a hell of a match. Bullet Club Gold against FTR. That's why I said the lineup on Saturday is looking very strong. Dynamite next week has Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy against the winner of the Jeff Jarrett, Matt Hardy eliminator match on Friday. And in looking at it, who do I think is going over in that match? Is it Garcia and Guevara, or is it Hardy and Jarrett? Probably Garcia and Guevara, I would say. Because they'll probably want Darby and Sammy, back in the ring together. MJF and Adam Cole next Wednesday are going to face the winners of the Big Bill, Brian Cage, Trent Beretta, Matt Sydal match. And Ruby Soho against Sky Blue in an Owen Hart match, and Chris Jericho will take on Commander. Yes, Commander is back. Why? I don't know, but Commander's on the show next week against Chris Jericho. So there you go. Here's a Twitter poll. 77% thumbs up for Dynamite tonight. It's a little higher than I thought it would be. 77% thumbs up, 23% thumbs in the middle. No, thumbs down. What am I saying? Thumbs down. 23% thumbs down. I don't even know what I'm saying. What is in this drink? What is in this drink? I think I roofied myself. I think I spiked my own drink. That sounds like something I would do on Mondays, not on Wednesdays. Spike my own drink. All right, let's take a look at your super chats. Let me thank everybody who is joining me here on this stream. Hit that like button, by the way. It does help out the video a great deal, so please hit that thumbs up. You would be so kind. We begin. I want to begin with Chris Manson, who says, Christian Cage licking his chops, waiting to feud with Nick Wayne. Well, he's just looking forward to coming out and calling him a little shit and talking about what a deadbeat his father was, his dead father, right? That's pretty much what Christian does, right? He talks about people's deceased parents. Nick Grasso with the $9.99. Don Callis and Chris Jericho starting a faction together sounds interesting. Just keep Takeshita away from Jericho. And does this mean the JAS is finally coming to an end? Not soon enough. It's not going to be, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but that is the hope, that we can finally get out of this old JAS mess. Nick with the 1999 also says, can we please get the leftovers of Dark Order out of this storyline where they are going, where are they going with this? Are they turning heel and one of them is the 5 for BCC and Blood and Guts, and does Kota Ibushi join the Elite as the 5th man? Well, I'll tell you what. As I was just talking about, that's one of my fears, that the Dark Order will be involved in some way, and I don't know if it'll be Long John Silver or Evil Uno, but whoever it is, that would leave a spot open on the babyface side, and Kota Ibushi would be my guess. I mean, it could be anybody. Take your pick. They have a lot of people on that roster. It could be anybody. But I think if that were to happen, if it was a Dark Order member on the heel side, I think Kenny would bring in Ibushi. If Jericho is on the heel side, I think Sting gets the spot on the babyface side. That's my prediction. Jessica with the $2. MJF and Cole reminded me of Jericho and KO. A little bit. A little bit. Dick the Cock Johnson, who is your hero? I have no heroes. I have no heroes. I live my own life. Christopher Smith, MJF and Adam Cole have such good chemistry together. I hope we keep getting more of this. Babyface MJF is freaking hilarious. Honestly, that's probably the best way to go with him. You get kind of these little fits of MJF as a babyface, even though you know he's still a heel. Because at the end of the day, he's a great heel. Turning him babyface right now would obviously be a mistake. But it allows him to pretend to be a babyface, to masquerade as a baby, like Hulk Hogan for many years, masquerading as a babyface. But in the end, you know he's a heel. Speaking of which. Jack Lopez, with the $5, says, I'm going back to school for the first time in 13 years, so I don't know how much time I'll have for wrestling, but I will always make time for solo. Well, congratulations. I'm happy to hear that. That's very cool. I don't know what you're majoring in. I don't know your situation, but good luck. And I will be here with the streams. You know where to find me. As long as you guys keep showing up, I'll keep showing up. Tuxedo T Servo, thank you for the $5. Joey wants to know, what is the Peter Gabriel song that you play if you hold a boombox over your head? If I hold it, you mean next to my head. I'm not going to hold it over my head unless I'm going to bash myself over the head with it. Big time. I'm playing big time. You thought I was going to say Sledgehammer. I'm playing big time. Rodimus Prime. Big time. I'm going to call you big time. Big time Rodimus Prime. Just like LA Knight and the Bloodline in WWE, Adam Cole and MJF are the best thing in AEW. Hands down, the funniest. Christopher Smith. Jericho said backstage that you can't be with me forever to Sammy and Garcia, so I think JAS is done. Now can we get Anna Jay with Jack Perry? Another reason, right? Another reason to just wash their hands of the Jericho Appreciation Society, start moving people into other positions. Anna Jay should absolutely be with Jungle Boy on camera. I hear they have great chemistry together. Jackie Fowler with the $25 Bree mode. WrestleMania 20 and 30's main events were triple threats, and with LA Knight catching fire like Daniel Bryan, Becky, and Kofi, I can honestly see Night 2's main event of WrestleMania 40 ending up being LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns for the title. I don't see it. I don't see it. You're being very optimistic, though. I respect that, but I'm gonna say no on that as a prediction. M-Sun, was Adam Cole really pumping that weight? Looked like it. I wasn't there. I can't tell you if it was fake weights. It looked like he was. Good for him. He could be. Look, there are people who you look at them and they don't look strong and they're deceptively strong. I've never considered Adam Cole to be somebody like that, but I don't know. I have no idea. Christopher says double clothesline for the win. You know they're going to hit the double clothesline probably in the finals, right? At some point they're going to hit their double team move. Jerry Ramey with the $10. Is Jericho a face or is it a swerve? Honestly, JAS isn't getting over or advancing the careers of Garcia or Anna Jay, Menard, or Magic. Don't interest me. What are your thoughts? Boy, it's funny. People were saying the same thing about Proud and Powerful at the end of the whole Inner Circle thing, that Santana and Ortiz felt like they were actually being held back in a way by Jericho. In fact, I believe I was the person who said that. Me and probably everybody else with two functioning eyeballs who was watching that television show. So here we are again with the JAS, and yeah, there are people who feel like they're just sort of stuck. I think the best thing to do, frankly, would be for them to move on. Dr. Scorpio, the Harts are probably the only people from Calgary that we would cheer and respect in Edmonton, despite us being hated Hockey City rivals. Yeah, I meant to ask, since I'm guessing you're a hockey fan, so let me ask you this question. Because I hear these mentions of Habs, Habs. What team is that? I know that's in reference to a team in the NHL, but I never actually looked it up. Who are the Habs? What is that in what is that in reference to? I'm not a hockey fan, so I don't know. But I know it represents a particular team. Red Emissary of Darkness solo Canada trip from Balzac to Regina to Goobles. Is that Goobles or Goobies? I can't tell if that's an L or an I. I think that's an I. Goobies. Is that a real? That's not real. That's not a real place. Okay, so the Habs are the Canadians. Okay, the Montreal Canadiens. Why are they called Habs? Like, what does that mean? Okay, so it's their nickname, but what is... I don't get the nickname. Is there really a place in Canada called Goobies? So we have... So you're telling me that we have places in Canada that are named after ballsack, vagina, and boobies? I think I may have to move to Canada. Another reason to move to Canada. Bobbert Reviews says, again, happy late 4th of July. So nice I had to read it twice because he dropped 40 on me. So, Bobbert, thank you very much. Jared in the chat says, I am from Alberta. Balzac is a real town. You still haven't told me, though, what the population of Balzac is. Red Emissary of Darkness. Adam and Maxwell go to White Castle. Coming all in. Chris AXC, Takeshita Omega Ospreay at Wembley, IWGP US title. Meltzer wouldn't have enough stars. What would your all-in main event be? Honestly, I mean, the all-in main event should be CM Punk against Kenny Omega, for being honest. But, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I mean, since we know that match is not happening. I don't know. What should headline... I mean, honestly, if they did Ospreay and Omega again, it's hard to look at that as anything but the main event. How do you follow that? Plus, you got Ospreay in the UK, that whole element to it, just like Omega in Canada. You know, MJF against Adam Cole, if they do the match at All In for the championship, that's not. I'm sorry, that's not Wembley main event worthy. So. It would be something involving Omega or Punk, most likely. I'm just amazed by this whole Canadian Balzac, Regina, and Goobies. Somebody had fun naming these. Sounds like something I would do. Food Hive says, I effing miss you guys. The streams make my week. It's good to hear from Food Hive. I feel like we haven't heard from him enough lately. So I'm glad you're with us, brother. Hey, Josiah Ball. Thank you for the super chat. Chris Mikesell. Rest in peace, Draws. I could picture him in the hardcore division had he never been paralyzed. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know what his ceiling would have been because he was so young and he really didn't have the chance to do much. You know, he was an underneath guy, an undercard guy, but he was just getting started. You know, by that point he had been there a couple of years, but it still felt like he was really only getting started. So it's hard to know how far he could have gotten, you know, because he just never had the chance. I could see him being involved in the hardcore title stuff back then. Juan Ocampo, we all knew you marked out for the Lone Wolf last week. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the Lone Wolf, because the Lone Wolf is dead. The Lone Wolf was a one week thing. Baron Corbin posted something, I was told, on his Twitter. I don't know, because he blocked me fucking 5 years ago, but fucking moron. But he posted some kind of video. Maybe they aired it on NXT last night. I haven't watched NXT yet. Of him throwing all of his garb and gear from like all of his past gimmicks into a furnace. So the stupid Happy Corbin hat and the vest and the old Lone Wolf leather vest, all of it. The crown from the King Corbin run. He threw it all in the furnace and said, no gimmicks. From now on, it's no more gimmicks. So everybody who was like, oh, the Lone Wolf is back. Yay! The Lone Wolf! I hope you enjoyed it. It's like Bryan Danielson coming out to Final Countdown at Forbidden Door. I hope you enjoyed it, because it ain't going to ever happen again. You got it once. If you want to relive it, you can go back and rewind. Dylan Hensley with the $20 Super Chats. Just had my first heartbreak. Wrestling training. Training buddy who I had grown close with decided to quit. Tried to talk him out of it, but he said he didn't want it badly enough. I was sad to see him go, but I won't stop. Well, there's going to be a lot of people who try to become wrestlers and they're not cut out for it and they drop off. It's going to be a lot of that. It's up to you. If you want it bad enough, you got to hang in there. Some people want it, some people don't. Some people get hurt. Some people realize that they're just not cut out for it. Fortunately, it's probably going to happen more in the future. You just focus on you. Just focus on your training and getting better, owning your craft, learning what you need to learn. Keep us updated on your progress. I'm enjoying these updates. Be calm, see clearly. I hate the Mets. Sincerely, a Diamondbacks fan. Go Snakes. I hate the Mets too, so that's something you and I have in common. Jaden Burks with the $4.99. Hey Solomonster, been a fan since 2012. Just turned 21. Oh, okay, so there was a word missing. I thought he said 2012. So been a fan since I was 12. Just turned 21 2 months ago. Well, let's do the math. He's been a fan since he was 12. He just turned 21 a couple of months ago. So 9 years ago would have been what, 2014. So thank you for all the great work and content. Jaden, you're very welcome. Thank you for being a fan for so long. I appreciate that. I'm glad to have you with us. Glad to have you with me. Alberto Ortiz in the chat says, I cannot wait to see it when Solo takes a bump at Hobb. See, I will not allow someone to bump me. I'm the commissioner. You can't bump me. You can't bump the commissioner. You see people going up to Adam Silver at press conferences and bumping him. See people going up to fucking Rob Manfred. I wish they would actually go up to Rob Manfred and fucking hit him with a fucking steel chair. No. I'm the commish. That don't work that way. Chris Mikesell. Loved your old interviews with DDP and Hardcore Holly. Any chance we get more interviews in the near future with some WWE legends? Well, you never know. If the opportunity were to present itself, you know, with me, it's just a matter of there's so many interview shows out there. You know, I always said my show is not an interview show. I will do interviews with people who I find interesting and who I think the audience would find interesting. And I've done some really cool interviews with people. Like DDP twice. I mean, one time he was very sick. He still took the time to talk to me. We talking about old Randy Savage stories, and we talked about the Goldberg match at Halloween Havoc, and we did a whole dissection of it. Hardcore Holly, very honest in the interview I did with him many years ago when his book came out. Justin Roberts, and just so many. Tony Schiavone. Yeah, I got the chance to talk to Tony Schiavone when he was working with MLW. This was before he joined AEW. I'm always open to it, but it's got to be the right person. It's got to be the right interview. I have to want to talk to this person. I have to feel like the audience would have an interest in it. But there are a lot of very talented people. You know, Chris Van Vliet is one of the best. I've told Chris this. I'm a big fan of his work, and you know, we've talked before. I was on Chris's show, actually. Chris and I did an interview once before also. There's a lot of people out there who do really good interviews. So that's kind of their space, but if the chance presented itself, yeah, absolutely. Of course. QB, Chris Hero and Ibushi as the last two spots in Blood and Guts. Chris Hero, interesting. So we got a Kings of Wrestling reunion in Blood and Guts. Yeah, I could see that. You know, look, he's flat out said he's not retired. He's inactive, but he's not retired. And he is with AEW right now, I think on a trial basis, working behind the scenes. So if they wanted him for a match to, you know, dust off the boots, get a little Kings of Wrestling reunion going on, I could see that. Again, Josiah, thank you. Jaden, again, Jaden with the $9.99. After Forbidden Door and Money in the Bank, it's a bit sad to see how far the gap between Ospreay and Ricochet has gotten. Makes Seth's little guy tweet age like the finest milk in the Death Valley desert. You know, part of it also is just where Ricochet is. If Will Ospreay had signed with WWE 5 years ago, Will Ospreay would not be having the kind of match he had with Kenny Omega at Forbidden Door. There's just certain limitations on what you can and cannot do in WWE. If you watch people when they're on the indies and then they go to WWE, the vast majority of them, they're not working the same types of matches they worked on the independent scene. So believe me, if Ricochet had left WWE, if Ricochet left WWE tomorrow, he's going to be the hottest thing on the independent scene. If he chooses to go that route, or if he went to AEW, he'd be having similar types of matches that you would expect him to be having. In WWE, it's a different environment. You're having these shorter television matches that are built around commercial breaks. It's a different environment that it just does not allow you to have the same types of matches that you saw these same people having before they came to WWE. Look at the people that have gone to NXT. Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee is in NXT right now. Have we seen Dragon Lee wrestle a match yet? Similar to the best matches you saw Dragon Lee having before he came to NXT? I haven't. Doesn't mean he's not having good matches, but it's just a different environment in WWE. You know, I don't blame Ricochet for that. Sean D. Yes, they did air that last night on NXT. Okay. I thought they probably did. I will watch NXT tomorrow. Joseph Brooks. Buy or sell on whose work you enjoyed more and who you thought was the more underrated King of the Ring. King Booker or William Regal? I feel like Regal won it in 08, I believe, right? I feel like Regal's run was cut short not long after that when he got popped. I think it was the suspension. Look, I mean, King Booker, it won him a world heavyweight title. You know, it really did kind of reinvigorate his career. But I enjoyed Regal's work as King of the Ring, even though, again, I think it was relatively brief. I very much enjoyed Regal when they were giving him that push. And it's too bad, because I really do think that he could have had a world heavyweight title run himself, not just Booker. I think after Regal won King of the Ring, he could have had that big gold belt. He could have had that secondary world title, which is what it was. At that point in time, I think if you were to compare the two, it was the secondary of the two. He absolutely could have had a run at the World Heavyweight Champion. And he's got nobody to blame but himself, by his own admission. His own mistakes, his own stupid mistakes. It's hard to put your trust in somebody in that role when they've let you down. And that's what happened with William Regal, unfortunately. But I would go Regal over Booker. And Leonard McCormick with the $4.99. Did you ever consider being a part of the wrestling industry in the role you currently are in when you were younger? Oh, I mean, when I was a kid, yeah. I mean, I always would have the WWF microphone and pretend that I was Mean Gene Okerlund or I was Vince McMahon. I always said, I want to be an announcer. Then you get older and you realize, well, to be an announcer, you have to have sports play-by-play experience, which I did not have. Nor was I thinking along those lines when I was still in school. And you realize, okay, well, they're obviously not looking. They're looking for something totally different. And then you realize the reality of it. But yeah, when I was a kid, it was all about being the next Mean Gene. Which is why when I had the chance to sit down at WrestleCon and interview Mean Gene face to face, that was one of the great thrills for me. And he had some very kind comments for me. And after we were done, we were just kind of shooting the shit for a little bit. And he was one of a kind. He's just from that era. I don't know. They don't make him like him anymore. Guys like him and Bobby Heenan, they just don't. They were just from a different era, from a different time, and I don't know. There's nobody that's come along that's really been like them. Larry Sweeney in Ring of Honor was maybe the closest thing to like a Bobby Heenan type, who I thought could have gone on to be possibly that great. And he took his own life and obviously cut his life and his career short, so we'll never know. But there's just one of a kind. One of a kind guys, and there'll never be another like them. Sad they're all gone. Monsoon's gone, Heenan's gone, Mean Gene's gone, Fink. They're all gone, man. They're all gone. Jaden, the $4.99. I also think if Nakamura left and had one last Japan run, possibly a Forbidden Door match, would do wonders for his standing in the wrestling world. Yeah, I don't think he's too worried about his standing in the wrestling world. I mean, his body of work in New Japan speaks for itself. He was probably one of the smart ones, in all honesty. He got out before his body completely broke down. It's you watch some of these guys, and Tanahashi right now is having some problems with his knees, and it's painful sometimes to watch. Nakamura, when he left New Japan, he basically left that whole strong style behind. I can't say that I blame him. He came to WWE. I'm sure he's making good money. He's putting a lot less stress on his body. He gets to go surfing. I don't get the sense that Nakamura is all that interested in going back and being the New Japan Nakamura. I think he did it, and he seems very happy and content where he is now. Plus he's not getting any younger. So this idea that one day he'll leave WWE and maybe go back to New Japan and we'll get the old Nakamura back, every year that goes by, that becomes less and less likely, and he's that much older. And you just get to that age, you can't put that level of stress on your body anymore. Why would you? Why would you want to? He got out when the going was good. Can't hold it against him. Jaden says, you're probably right. More often than not, I am right. It's pretty good rule of thumb to live by. Oh, man. So I think that gets to all of your super chats. I think I covered them all. Some good questions in there, so thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, as always. And right now, let's go ahead and switch over to our Be the Booker segment. What do you guys think? You want to be the Booker? I kind of want to be the Booker. Let's be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
Let us go ahead and be the Booker, and don't forget to hit that like button if you have not already done so. We will begin by booking ourselves a singles men's match here in Balzac tonight. I am promoting this show in Balzac. We have a crowd of 2,600. Not a big gate. But I would still like to book a good main event for these fine folks here in Balzac. We are going to have, well, I've already failed. I have let down the people of Balzac. For I have selected... What is his name? Forgot his name. What is this fucking guy's name? I don't have the foggiest clue what his name. Oh, that's right, Madcap Moss. Oh my god. That tells you everything you need to know about old Madcap Moss. I'm looking at him in his stupid shirt and his stupid suspenders, and I cannot remember his fucking name. Madcap Moss. One-on-one with Joseph Park Esquire. Hurricane says, the joke's on us. The joke's on us. Yes, the joke is on us. The joke is on us. The joke's on me. I don't know if I should be concerned about the fact that I can't remember this guy's name. He hasn't been off television for that long. All right. Let's put that in the rear view. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Let's move on to the ladies here. We begin with the reigning NXT Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton. There we go. Now we're off to a much better start here on the women's side. Tiffany Stratton, going to be a big star on the main roster. It's only a matter of time. I feel the same way about her that I felt when Rhea Ripley was in that same role in NXT. And Rhea Ripley right now is on top of the world in WWE. So it'll be Tiffany Stratton one-on-one with Ronda Rousey. Tiffany Stratton and Ronda Rousey. You may not like Ronda Rousey, but that's a marquee enough match, I think, to book on the show. And actually, I think that there's the potential there for that to end up being a pretty good match. Even though Tiffany Stratton's still a little green. She hasn't put the whole package together just yet. Tiffany Stratton and Ronda Rousey gets the bell. I think those two could pull out a good match. Okay, so 1 loss, 1 win. You know what that means. It all comes down to this. We have a lot of very conflicted people in the chat. They're not sure how to feel about that match. You can't have a draw in Be the Booker. You get the bell or the buzzer. You got to make a decision. We don't do draws here. What is this, a nudist colony? We don't do draws? All right, here we go. The world's greatest tag team of Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, former WWE Tag Team Champions. All right. I like that. Drum roll, please. Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin against Tito Santana and Rick Martel. Strike Force. Strike Force. Yes. Strike Force and the world's greatest tag team would be Actually, a very good tag team match. That would be a hell of a tag team match. They're what you would call the good mechanic teams. They have the mechanics down of their matches, technically sound. If you're really into the wrestling part of it, not so much the personality part of it. If you're looking for charisma and personality, this is not the match for you. Although I did enjoy the model. I enjoyed the model gimmick. Strikeforce, though, there really wasn't much personality there. Had a good song, right? Girls and Cars, Rick Springfield. So, I call that a win. Here and Be the Booker. We went 2 for 3. 2 out of 3. That's a good night. Bearwolf says Rick Martel is underrated. Rick Martel should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I agree. Jaden's, not Jaden. What was I going to say? I just forgot what I was going to do. What did I put in this drink? What is wrong with me tonight? Man. How much of that did I put in there? The model was awesome as an early 90s gimmick. Yeah, he's another one also. I think his entrance music is underrated. I always enjoyed his theme music. Rick Martel had a damn good run in WCW before he got hurt. Yeah, it's a shame, too, because he came back. It was in 98, and he won the television title. And then it was in the match with Booker T. I forgot what pay-per-view it was. And his knee basically exploded. And that was it. So he was having this career resurgence when the injury happened. So who knows how much longer he could have gone on for. But no, he was having some pretty kick-ass matches in WCW until the injury. I think it was the opening match, too. I just don't remember what pay-per-view it was. But it was in 98. Maybe it was sold out. I don't remember. Super Brawl? I feel like it was earlier in the year. Drinking that Creek liquor. Some Knob Creek here. Maybe. Keeping it a secret. Jaden says, what's in the cup, Solo? Some funny juice. Hey, it's whatever the Street Profits drink in those red Solo cups when they come down to the ring. That's what I have in here. Joey says, by the way, Solomonster, the Peter Gabriel song I was looking for is In Your Eye. That sounds like another one of those Canadian provinces. Go from Balzac to Regina to Goobies to In Your Eye. I would still love to know what the population is of Balzac. No one has told me. Is there no record of what the population is in that? Is it a city or is it a province? Because you have a lot of things. You have towns, you have cities, you have townships, you have municipalities of various kinds. Is it a province? Is it a city? Is it a village? Jackie, I mean, I don't know why you're so shocked The Rock is not in the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's just up to his schedule. It's a formality at this point. It's just a matter of what is the best year to put him in the Hall of Fame. That's really the only thing holding it up. Jaden says it was Super Brawl against Booker T. I thought it was early in the year, so I knew it was either sold out or it was Super Brawl. Yeah. Population is about 40,000. Wow, that's a lot of people. It's more than I thought. I thought it was going to be a population of like 1,200 or something. Okay, but Jared is telling me that Balzac is right outside of Calgary, maybe 300 people. All right, so it's officially listed as a hamlet. Of course, I forgot I didn't mention Hamlet. If it's a hamlet, it probably has only a few hundred people. 40,000 people in come on, a fucking hamlet. There ain't no 40,000 people in Balzac. Okay? I don't buy that. I don't know where you're getting your information from. I don't buy it. Juan Ocampo says, first bump Kamish Solo will take is a chair shot. Well, I feel bad for the person who delivers that chair shot. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, Fawaz is with us. What's going on, Fawaz? Fawaz with a $10 super chat. Buddy, what's up? Keep up the great work. Recently watched our first call 3 years ago. I gotta say, I got teary-eyed. I really wanted to thank you for everything. Bringing the signs was so special to me. Bringing the signs is special to me, too, when I see them out there in that crowd. So I should be thanking you. Yeah, I remember that when I used to do the phone calls, and we had the chance to talk. How many years ago was that? Was that 3 years ago? 2 or 3 years ago, probably by now? Anyway, Fawaz is one of the good ones. William says 40,000. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. I'm being told that Balzac is a neighbor town to Pecker Point. Do I think Batista will ever go into the Hall of Fame? It seems like every year it keeps getting delayed. He was going to go in this year, and he had filming obligations in South Africa for that My Spy sequel. So he's another one. It just really just boils down to scheduling. He was supposed to go in 3 years ago, but he didn't want to go in unless there were actual people in the building, because that was during the whole, pandemic period. So, yeah, as long as they can make the scheduling work, it could be any year. Batista could go in next year in Philadelphia, maybe. Now I'm seeing rumors that Paul Heyman might go into the Hall of Fame next year, even though Heyman himself has said he doesn't want to go into the Hall of Fame until he's done, and he's nowhere near being done. But if Vince McMahon wants him in the Hall of Fame, he's going in the Hall of Fame. In Philadelphia, for obvious reasons, given his history in that city. Only question is who inducts him into the Hall of Fame. Hey, maybe they can get Todd Gordon to induct him. We all know how big of a Paul Heyman fan Todd Gordon is. Maybe they'll get him to induct Paul Heyman into the Hall of Fame. Brock Lesnar, maybe. Cowboy Brock can come out and do the induction. West Coast James. Been a Sound Off legend for 26 straight months. What do we call people who reside in Balzac? It's a good question. What do we call those people? Can't call them like Balzacians. What do you call people who reside in Balzac? You can tell I'm just completely infatuated now with this hamlet. I may have to take a vacation there. Yeah, I haven't gone on vacation in 3.5 years. I think I just found my vacation destination. The only thing is, it's probably pretty cold there. So, does the Balzac get smaller because it is? I don't know. These are the questions that go through my head here at 12:20 in the morning. Base Beerus, God of Seduction, buy or sell, Great Dane or Great Collie? I see what you did there. Very funny. I prefer neither. I'm not a dog guy. I don't hate dogs, but I'm not a dog guy. I'm a cat guy. Used to have cats. No more pets, but if I did, it would be a cat, not a dog. You call them nuts. Yeah, you know what? I like Todd's suggestion. We call them sacks. We call them sacks. There you go. Ballers. All right, ballers is pretty. Actually, ballers might be better. Call them ballers. All right. There you go. Justin says someone needs to make a Balzac swim team shirt. Cheers to you for that one. Got to join the Balzac swim team. So William says, I'm right. The county in which the hamlet is located contains 40,000. This is from a 2018 article. crazy. Oz and Glorious with the $5 says Balzac has 2 malls. The new Queens of the Stone Age album rules. I think those are 2 completely different things that he just shared in that one super chat. Man, I'm going to get that one angry email from somebody who lives in Balzac. I know it. I know it. Fawaz says, I have to ask, what's your favorite sign that you saw that I brought to the shows? Mine is honestly the For Life sign because we dressed up like the NWO. I think the last one you did, whatever that last one was. Always like the logo because against the black and then you see the white and the red, it stands out pretty good that way. So that one probably gets my vote, honestly. Uffman Entertainment, holding down things in the chat, also dropped a super chat, says the population, according to the 2006 municipal census conducted by Rocky View County, is 1, according to Wiki. 1! 1, you say? So there's only 1 Balzac, or 1 person in Balzac. That sounds more believable to me than 40,000. Anyway, this has been very enlightening, I must say. I learned things tonight that I did not know. And I thought I knew everything. I think I know everything. So I learned some new stuff tonight. I don't know what I'll do with this knowledge, but like I said, I might have just found my new vacation destination. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I will be back with you on Friday night. Friday night's going to be a big night because Friday night is SmackDown from Madison Square Garden. SmackDown is in my backyard. And it's a big show. We got the trial of Roman Reigns, who's going to be in tribal court. We also have, I don't want to spoil it, but we may be seeing the return of a certain former WWE star on Friday. And they announced, God, what was the other thing they announced for SmackDown on Friday? It's not a championship, man. I thought they announced something else for SmackDown on Friday. In any event, it's going to be a big night. So you'll want to be here for the review. That'll be on Friday night. Saturday, I'm probably going to be live after Collision because it is a big show. So I'll keep you guys posted on that if that isn't the case. But I think the plan is live Friday night, live Saturday night, and then episode 816 on Sunday. So plenty of content yet to come. I have, by the way, installed Fight Forever. And I was going to try to work on a caw, but it was pointed out to me, and I think it's actually a great point, that I may as well just use Orange Cassidy. So I don't have to create a wrestler. It's already been created for me. And so maybe we'll start the road to the elite. Right now, I'm just trying to get a little acclimated with some of the controls. And I'm making progress. So we'll probably start Road to the Elite and do at least one episode of Sound Off Gamer for that. Maybe tomorrow. I can sit down and record. So anyway, I will see you guys then. Until then, be well. Stay safe. Thank you for all of the super chats. Thank you for all the super chats. You guys are nuts. You guys are out of your mind. Hey Tab, is that announced for SmackDown? I thought they were saving that for SummerSlam. Austin Theory and Sheamus for the U.S. title. I hope that is on the show this Friday, because then that opens up the spot for LA Knight to challenge for the championship at SummerSlam. But I didn't think they announced that match. Or are you just guessing on that? You may just be guessing. Well, we'll find out, I guess, right? LA Knight. LA Knight should be the United States champion coming out of SummerSlam. Solomonster saith, So it shall be done. I'll see you guys Friday night.